Hey, Dan here, and in this video, I'm going to answer a question sent in about how do you deal with your mental health during this whole lockdown and quarantine situation. I'm here in Spain, and so I've been dealing with this probably earlier than anyone except friends I had in China. But I know this is happening now everywhere in the world, and it's not easy being locked inside all the time. Now, when I'm talking about mental health here, I'm not talking about if you have something that's been clinically diagnosed, if you're currently working with a therapist, taking some kind of medication for a condition, continue to do that, talk to your therapist. But I'm talking about the kind of general mental health. How do you keep your spirits up? How do you keep focused? How do you avoid downward spirals? Or as a friend of mine pointed out, how do you avoid spending 3 days addicted to Pornhub Premium, which was made free in Europe? I mean, these things come up when you are locked inside, especially if you happen to be inside alone. Now, I have to be honest, I haven't really minded this lockdown at all. It's been one of the most productive times. I'm feeling pretty happy, healthy. I've actually been liking it in many ways, and it's been teaching me a lot about myself, and I'm not that keen for it to end, although I am allowed to go out and exercise individually, all adults. And I don't share that with you to be like, oh, look at me, but I share that because there's some things I figured out that have helped me get through this a little bit better and been keeping my spirits up, and I wanted to share those with you. The first thing is the inputs. What information are you letting get into your head? Now, I'll admit I spend probably 0 to 30 minutes a day reading about what's going on around the world with this virus. I'm usually looking at specific sources. There's a great doctor here on YouTube. His name is John Campbell. I've been watching him since January when he had about 100,000 subscribers. He's over 600,000 now. He does a daily video. I like that as getting a overall sense of what's going on and where things are heading and all that. But in terms of mainstream news, things like CNN or BBC or that is going to destroy your soul right now. And especially if you're in America, there's something that you might not know there. I was talking to some of my American clients about this recently. You guys have so much noise there. Like the amount of advertising, and everywhere you go, there's CNN on a TV, there's advertising, there's billboards. That's not normal, really. That doesn't happen in other places in the world. And I've had friends move to the US and actually leave because they just couldn't take it. They always felt anxious. And that's because there's always this stuff chirping at you. There's always noise. So especially if you are in the US, pay close attention to this. Have your phone turned off for part of the day. Don't have the news on your TV. Don't have background stuff on, like just the news playing somewhere or whatever. It's really not good. So try to really reduce the amount of negative inputs you're taking in. On that note, try to increase the amount of positive inputs you can be taking in. Watch the odd inspiring movie. And I do say movie, I find movies are a lot better than series. The way series are set up, they want you to keep watching. So you're always left with like a cliffhanger at the end, I should say. You never exactly know where things are going to go. So you're just kind of waiting, and there's anxiety often if you're watching like dramas or action shows, where movies have a nice conclusion, and in many cases they end with an inspiring conclusion in that. So take a couple days a week and watch an inspiring movie. Watch one of your favorite films again. Just something to boost your mood in that way. Now, the second point is perhaps the most important one, is to make sure that you're meeting your basic needs. And I mean psychological needs. Now, as an ENFP, one of my biggest needs is for variety, is for newness, different experiences. So considering that you can't really leave your house in Spain, there's not even like to-go food or anything like that, there's not a lot of variety that is showing up for you naturally, right? But I started to think about it like you would maybe if you were in prison, that you would adapt and find little ways to get novelty. So one of the things I've been doing, which has not been good for the keto diet, is I've been buying Hefeweizen beer from Germany, one of my favorite types of beer, which I normally don't drink. And there's this ambient soundtrack I found, which plays like a Berlin cafe music. And I used to live in Germany, and that a bit of background story. So some nights when I want to be writing, I'll put on this Berlin cafe music. I'll put on some electronic music on top of that, and then be drinking Hefeweizen, and it's like 50% as if I'm traveling. It creates a new experience for me. It feels a little bit like I'm there. It's something nice in that way. You know, if you think of what your main needs are, they're probably a need for connection with other people, probably a need for variety and newness. I have a video about this. I'll link to the full video so you can go through and actually figure out what your 2 most important needs are out of the 6. But what you want to do is figure out how you can meet those needs given your current circumstances. So if you can't go out and travel, if you can't even go see your friends, what can you do to meet that need for connection? It might be being met at a lower level, but what can you do to do that? In the case of variety, what if you start to cook all kinds of different meals, right? Bought different spices, bought different kinds of foods. Do whatever you can to mix things up and get more of that variety. And that will really, really help with your mental health around this. And what you might actually find too in the long run is you are capable of staying in one place longer than perhaps you thought, of being at home alone for longer periods, and you can meet your needs for connection and variety in some more interesting ways. My 3rd tip, and then I'll have one quick bonus one at the end, is find something you can do to focus your energy and make the most of your time. I've been working on a really big project the last month or so, and it's been awesome. I've loved having that focus and that place to pour my energy into. So one of the things I hear from so many people, especially if you have a normal job, is I don't have time to start my business. I don't have time to write a book. Now you have the time. Even if you have to work remotely for your job, you can probably shave off 3-4 hours a day of, water cooler chit chat and commuting time and everything else. So you have the time now. Focus it, pour it into something. And having something to work on, you'll forget about everything else. If you're working on your great novel, do you think you're gonna care that you're not allowed to go out as much as you used to? Probably not. You're gonna have something that will be absorbing your focus. So highly recommend that. So to summarize, be aware of your inputs, get rid of the negative ones, bring in more positive. Find ways to meet your needs and find a project that you can pour your energy into that will keep you focused. Last, don't be so hard on yourself. This is a tough time, and we're all gonna go through a bit of a grieving process, a bit of a what the hell is going on process at some point. I've went through that already. Some people have, some people are just entering it now. It hits us all at a different time, but if you're having a really rough time with it, know that this is a tough time. So don't feel bad about that. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you need a bit of time to just recharge, to take some time off and to get right basically, then do that. That's totally fine. Don't be too hard on yourself with this, but do follow the 3 tips I shared. I'll tell you right now, they'll make a huge difference in how you feel and how you make it through this thing.